Everybody good? All right. This is my turn to intro. So count it
Okay.
down. Give me the countdown.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. This is a completely inappropriate podcast where we take your panties off with our teeth. You can find us at completelyinappropriatepodcast@gmail.com, at Instagram at completelyinapp with 1P on. Oh, wait, no. You know what? We'll do it again at the end. Fuck you. With our tongues. I'm Tony along with Mr.
Frank.
Who?
Frank.
Mr. Who?
Frank.
Ooh, I love it so much. And along with us today, we have a very special guest following us up from last Monday's episode. This past episode, motherfucker. We have our special guest. Who is it?
Cassey. Sober.
Ooh, I
Hello.
love the little pop with a finger in the mouth. Yeah. Ooh, we did it again. Can we get him to do it a third time? One more time? Oh, that was so good for me. Was it good for you?
Maybe.
All right, I'm over this shit. So, hey, Casey, that was really fucking disturbing. I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me.
I had
Sometimes
that intro. I was rolling. I had it muted. Really easy.
I just try and just fucking, I don't know. I just like playing with myself in my own head. If y'all like it, happy you listen. So, Casey, how you doing, man? How's it been since our piss break?
It's been pretty excellent. I ran out of my bang. I forgot to get a water, but I can tough through.
Well, you can run and go get it while me and Frank rant a little bit.
Sure, I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So then where you can catch us was on Instagram under CI Podcast, Twitter completely in app with 1P. Apparently I have to point that out.
Uh-huh.
Because some of us don't know how to spell inappropriate. I'm not going to say me.
Inappropriate has 2 P's. Just so everybody knows who doesn't already know, inappropriate has 2 P's. Actually, it has 3.
Right, but then there's 2 that are
But there's
together.
2 that are together.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is our spelling episode. Apparently, I made this podcast handle a little too long, and it confuses the hell out of people. And then, yeah, I can't spell everything for you guys. I mean, Google, your phones have autocorrect, Frank. I still don't understand how you get it wrong. Just look, if it has a red underline.
No, because it's saved on autocorrect, misspelled. And I'm like, how does that happen?
It's misspelled, you dumb motherfucker.
Dude, that happens to me all the time. I go to like text something and I misspell it, but I hit space, and then my phone like will save it. So next time I type it right, it will autocorrect to the wrong word.
Oh yeah, for some reason my shit. Okay, I do that with like won't and don't. For some reason it's DON space T, or DO space T. I don't know. Like it fucks it up every time, and I just stopped correcting it. And I know there's a way to delete those goddamn things when you save the wrong ones, but I don't know. I'm too fucking busy to care. Anyway, so we're back here, guys. With Casey trying to figure out what the hell we're going to talk about now. I think Frank had some leftover points.
Oh, I did.
What did we touch on right before we signed off on the last one?
We touched on ourselves, but that was just now.
Yeah,
no.
I had a piss.
I think we wrapped up with racism as a public health crisis.
Yeah, well, we got to that, but the why we don't have TikTok anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't even know. I was ahead, like you with your wonderful Hawaiian shirts back in 2014. I busted out TikTok like 3 months ago. I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. I'll do maybe one a weekend. Did one with my wife, did one with my kid, did one with my niece. And then I realized it was really fucking stupid. It sat on my phone for about 2 months and I deleted it a while ago. And then it came out just yesterday, right?
Yep.
So what came out yesterday? Let's let Casey explain it. He did a little looking up.
I know Trump was talking about banning TikTok on, the thought that because it's owned by Chinese people that they mine data.
But everything's owned by Chinese people.
Exactly, dude. They own
Isn't
so
half
much
of
of
America?
They have so much of our country's debt. They own, I think, still like 30 or 40% of General Motors. Dude, they own everything.
I thought they just owned Puerto Rico.
There's so many countries in like Africa and stuff where they're taking like the approach the US did in like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, where we went in and put guns to countries' heads and said, you will sell us the rights to build your road or we will coup you with the CIA, right? That's how we rolled back in the day to control all these countries. China's doing it now. And they control all these places in like Africa and other
You're
places
trying
in
to
Asia.
tell me that our own government were doing illegal deals behind our backs all this time?
What? The government, no, but contracting companies that have connections to intelligence agencies, maybe
a lot of guys that
possible
could,
liability.
a lot of guys that could write off that ticket is paid for.
Yep.
Yeah,
There's
it's
a
good
there's
to
a
have
pretty good
friends.
book. It's called the Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and then he had a re-release.
I've heard of that.
It's a great book. I read the new Confessions of an Economic Hitman, which has like 3 or 4 more chapters. But that's a really good book. I suggest that to anyone that wants to read it.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Somebody recommended the Jefferson Bible to me yesterday in a very rambunctious way, and I felt obligated to give it a listen.
You felt attacked because it was sudden.
It was
But-
I went into this live stream and fucking they asked me, so how was so this is Tony. So how was the hurricane you dealt with over there, Tony? And I understand that it made you think about God a little. I was like, well, I posed the question because, as you know, I'm quoted as being an atheist, but everybody was telling me that it was a miracle that these trees fell. And but I made the mistake of saying that I'm an atheist, but I try and consider myself more philosophical or whatever. I said something to that effect, and this girl just I know I don't want to judge, but you know how certain people have such a cadence with their speak where they just sound like they might have just taken an Adderall about 45 minutes ago?
Yep.
It was that amount of energy coming at me when I was like straight out of work, just eating fucking lunch, sat down, and I just sat down to try and listen to this conversation going on. And they immediately introduced me. I was like thrown for a fucking loop. But yeah, so this girl, as far as I heard, was referencing that book, and yeah, and I've got like, and I was worried, like, man, I gotta read a whole fucking Bible. Like it's a 3-hour audiobook. It's basically the majority of it's whatever. I'm already frustrated talking about this. What the fuck were we gonna talk? Let's get to the fucking
we
episode.
were talking about the banning of the Tic Tacs, and yeah.
Oh yeah. So did you ever do TikTok? Are you familiar with TikTok?
I'm familiar with it, right? I was never on TikTok.
Well, hold on.
Or
On
Vine or
that
something like
note, on that note, how old are you?
How old do you think I am?
36,
I was gonna say 23.
32.
23. I'm 25.
You're not 25.
I am 25.
I'm telling you, the beard
God
makes
damn
you
it,
look
boy.
older.
Yeah, no
It does.
shit.
Yeah.
That's why I started growing. I started letting mine grow at about 25. God damn, I'm old.
Yeah.
I started
But
shaving every day in
But
7th
explain
grade.
to me why I look so much better than both of you.
Well, that's what you think.
I know. It's
I'm
a
like
sad-
the most generic looking white American that you can find, though.
I
so.
swear I know at least 2 other guys that look exactly
Yep.
like you.
Yep. The only
but
thing that helps differentiate is I'm 6'5". I used to be 6'5". I'm 6'4.5" because I had a part of my spine cut out after I broke it. But I'm a little bit shorter now. But I'm super tall, so that is like the only thing that helps me stand out.
If we were both a hue darker, we would sit very well in Afghanistan or like the Middle East somewhere.
Mhm.
Well, I feel like me and Frank look the least Mexican of the Hispanics down here. We look much more like great grandmama came from fucking Middle East somewhere.
I think it's because your beard's a little bit curlier than most.
Yeah, well, it's that Spanish. I got all that Spanish blood in me, so it's real thick. Like people are like, "Do you dye your beard?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm only 30. Come on, I'm 31. I'm not that old. I got good genes, man. Good hair genes, anyway." Anyway, let's get to this fucking episode.
Yeah, we're talking about the banning of the Tic Tacs.
I know we're gonna
and I'm
keep
like,
this one straight.
yeah, and I was gonna sneak in there that apparently it like the reason is the Xinjiang Muslims, right? But some people, I'm not gonna say on the left, but some people are saying that the reason why TikTok is being banned is because Trump can't take a fucking joke. Because everyone's been parodying him, and that Trump can't take joke. That was your phone. But yeah, it was a wind. It blew inside your house and then fucking. But yeah, the whole thing with the Xinjiang Muslims, they have quote unquote re-education camps, and they're shaving their heads, selling their hair to the American people,
Oh,
and they're
right.
harvesting their organs.
They were trying to say that they didn't have those camps to begin with, right?
Yeah.
But then it became unmistakable. So then it wasn't that they were enslaving people. Oh man.
Yeah, because there's actual footage of Muslims sitting down Indian style in a little group or pretzel style, depending on where you're from, and the Chinese soldiers taking them into fucking trains. Like this is Nazi Germany, you know. And it got to a point where China had sanctions not just on the U.S. but on Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. And I'm like, I'm glad I'm not a fucking politician. Damn. A country putting sanctions on me.
As an individual?
Yeah. Like, how does that work?
How does that work? How would that work? What is the same? Do you have any idea, Casey?
You just say, well, when you're a country that's so like authoritative as China, you can do whatever you want in their system, right? People always say, "Oh, China's so communist or whatever," but they're not communist at all. They're not, Soviet Union level of attempt at helping people. It's just all control all the time, right? So they control everything. They control the information, they control goods, they control all the stuff. So if you're that big, right, you can do whatever you want. You shouldn't, but you can, right?
Yeah,
that makes sense. So you just be like,
I don't know. Isn't the
I'm
United
not letting any of your
States
stuff
always
in
doing
here.
that? I mean, it's just they're just shittier at hiding. They chose not to be the country that hides it. You know what I mean? We're doing the same thing here to some degree. We've got special armed forces doing fucking operations here on our own fucking soil.
Oh yeah,
almost on a constant basis. We had a former guest, Army Ranger Special Ops guy who fucking came in and told us as much.
Yeah, and then when you name your army the People's Liberation Army, and you set them,
who do you need liberation from?
and you set them against your own people, and like that raises suspicion. And then the People's Republic of China too. We all know you're communist.
I mean, we have the National Guard that's coming in and attacking, its own people during
that's
riots,
how
right?
that's how a lot of these. And it doesn't matter the country, right? It's just how you sell a concept. You make it sound good. The Patriot Act, man.
We know how to market our fucking depravity.
It's all about marketing and controlling like the thought and the concept.
Absolutely.
You can get away with whatever you want, right?
Yeah,
the
like
Democratic People's Republic of North Korea, right?
Yeah, like fucking Trump saying that it's patriotic to wear a mask. You're wearing a mask, like.
Well, I thought he was against the masks.
He was, but then
after he went to the military hospital.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he went over to the hospital, and he's gonna be exposed to a lot of it.
So he got convinced that.
So he wore a mask just for that occasion, and then CNN.
Oh, is that when he was walking in with it like fucking Men in Black style or CIA style? And then they showed Biden walking in looking like tom dee tom tom dee tom. With like four guys, like old sad old people.
You also got it's like 90% of Americans are like pro wearing a mask, whether it's forced to or not, right?
Yeah.
So you got election coming up, you got to get that approval up, which is not very high right now, right?
Yeah.
You wear the mask. Oh, I'm just like you guys. You should vote for me, right?
I know. I'm trying to see. Is he waiting to get as close to November as we can before they finally release these fucking? What do you guys think the chances are of the second
Civil War?
No, second Civil War.
Yes.
The second round of stimulus checks.
Oh, okay. No, because I was
What's the likelihood of this happening?
No, it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of the politicians agreeing onto what amounts.
Yeah, agreeing as to what they want to also sneak into those bills too, right?
That's the problem. The first one was done so quickly that nobody had time to do that kind of bullshit.
Yep.
And now everybody like, oh man, we should have fucking done that. Oh.
They were trying to add on for a while. They were trying to put banning on owning 3D printers and mills like for your home that could make firearms into the stimulus bill.
Mhm.
Oh,
There
that's
was stuff.
bullshit.
There was talk where they're trying to put like body armor stuff because they always try to. Everyone has an agenda, right?
Mhm.
They were throwing this last one was like what $400 million or $1 trillion, whatever, not trillion, but like $400 million for the Pentagon to buy like more planes and bombs and shit in your stimulus bill. Like
That's not much though. 400 million.
it's not, but that's $400 million that you're not helping businesses or people with.
But Bezos could cover that. I mean,
Good.
that's what we need to do, man. They need to lobby all these fucking private industries for money, man, instead of just taxing the.
I was real impressed. There was like a private organization that a bunch of like big, billionaire and companies had given money to that was giving assistance to people privately. I was pretty impressed with.
Yeah, well, that's what Frank wants. Frank wants no government. Everything should be privatized. So if we get to that point, then we're gonna end up.
I like Frank.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, everybody wants everything privatized. Everything privatized. The problem is then only the people with money get their fucking voice heard.
Well, not necessarily.
Only
but-
the people with if there's a group of people that are against, the entire town is against fucking Montgomery Burns putting up his nuclear plant, but he's fucking Montgomery Burns. He's probably gonna win getting that nuclear plant up. Granted, that was a bad example because I'm all for nuclear energy.
Right.
But
It's the next step in clean energy.
It's an example, right?
it's an example. I think we need to develop some fucking sort of in the mountains, like hollow out a mountain and fucking put our nuclear in the mountains. What do you think?
And then if there's a nuclear accident, the mountain will absorb it.
Yeah, you put in safeguards where it seals off the mountain.
I mean, they
it
used to
won't
test.
absorb it. It'll eventually
that way,
leak
right?
out. At least, I'm sorry.
So they used to test nukes that way, right? That's how like China and Korea and stuff do all their nuclear testing and stuff. It's all underground in mountains and stuff. So like, why wouldn't it work?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It's all that shit's gonna leak out anyway. It's even leaking out into our oceans. They use right now the metals from old pre-nuclear era ships that have been sunk and shit. They're reclaiming that to do all these studies to see how the metals we find in space would react to the kind of treatments that we use in metal today, because all the metal above the ocean has been contaminated with all this nuclear radiation that we've released. And people are wondering why there's more birth defects and there's more autism like my son, and there's more cases of gender fluidity because people's genes are so scrambled because of all this radiation. Like, I know that's a controversial thing for me to say, like, oh, you're saying there's only trannies because of fucking radiation, we're all atomic freaks. Like, that's not what I'm saying. We're all atomic freaks because we all live in the same fucking atomic age. Yeah. Like, it's just, what is your freak? Like, I've got fucking addiction issues and we got fucking depression issues. We got fucking all these issues all around the world, and nobody thinks to think of the fucking science behind it. How do you feel about God, Cassey?
About God. So I'm not like an overly religious person, right?
Right.
My dad was raised Catholic, and my grandma is a very devout Irish Catholic, right?
Again, my grandmother's from Spain. She's she went through the convent school. All women go through the convent to get their education.
But so I went to some services at the mission when I was younger. But I'm the kind of maybe pessimist when it comes to human society, a little bit like Frank with control. I always saw organized religion the same way Frank sees government, because I see government the same way. It's just a way to control people. Because here's my take. If there is an overarching, all-powerful whatever, right? How can a human being possibly quantify that or understand it?
Agreed.
So I'm like, if Jesus came out of the sky today, sat next to me, and it was like, this is me, and I'm maybe like, all right, cool, then that's what it is. Or Buddha or whoever, right?
Exactly. The more peaceful religions, I believe in, like, it's just a survival instinct. You take care of the people around you, they take care of you. That's how our society grew to become what it is. Like, even the slaves, even ancient Egypt, they used to think it was all slaves that built those things. And now they think that it was actually the best of the best workers that would migrate there to work on this thing that was a mass structure, like a Tower of Babel for the Egyptians. You know, it was something they came together because they were proud of themselves as a community.
Sure. It is good. It is a good basis to, like, be good to people and center around, right?
Well, now think about it. What's the internet doing for us now? Our internet
Exactly.
has become
I've
a Tower
said
of
the
Babel in itself.
same thing to people, right?
It's my favorite thing. Because I feel like I've never heard it anywhere. Nobody ever puts these two things together.
The internet connects you to more people, right?
It gives us all a unified voice. We all understand each other. I mean, it's got automatic translation, for fuck's sake, on fucking Instagram posts. Like, you know how hard it was for me to do my Spanish homework, having to find a Spanish translator on fucking line so I could fucking. I don't know Spanish. My grandma's from Spain. I speak fucking okay Spanish. Yeah, but España. But I can't fucking. I'm not fluent in it. But now we've got this Tower of Babel literally at our fingertips, and nobody sees the destructive force it has. Like, what happens when everybody starts being able to communicate with each other? Well, then you get all the different people with different ideas coming in and butting heads with each other, and then we all end up fucking destroying each other using the same fucking tool that's supposed to be bringing us together. Like, that's why we got this cancel culture that's completely taking out all these fucking people that would have just fucking gone through their lives, lived and died, caused their trouble or caused their fucking good, and we would have lived and let live. Now we can't live and let live. Everybody affects us directly now.
Is that cancel culture new, or is it just an extension?
It's on a larger scale
of hating the different and other people that we used to apply to religions or nations or ethnic groups and stuff. It's just in a different way now.
Yeah, we're becoming a world community, a new world order.
Right.
How are you on conspiracy theories?
I like certain conspiracy theory stuff. Some of them turn out to be true, some of them turn out not to be, right? I went to Area 51 in this shirt, and I didn't see any aliens. I was real upset.
Was that during the whole raid?
Yeah.
Area 51? I knew you look like you'd go in a raid Area 51.
It was so lame, dude.
Was it really?
It was cold, dude. I didn't think that it was going to be that cold. I was like, it's September and it's in the desert. No, dude, it's like high up. It's at a higher elevation, right?
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's right.
And it was like 30 degrees, dude. Oh, and I just had this shirt on, right? No undershirt, and I was like, this is really cold. I didn't bring a single jacket. I had like a windbreaker that I ended up putting on.
How old were you at this point? So I forgot. You gave us your age.
25, so
I'm still confused about your age because I could have swore you were my age.
No, everyone always thinks I'm older.
When did you go through puberty? At 8?
Right. I told you earlier I started shaving when I was in 7th grade.
Oh yeah, me too. I had that Mexican brown boy peach fuzz going on, and I remember they called me into the office. They're like, "Sir, you're gonna have to shave." I'm like, "Okay, sir," but my dad said if this was an issue to call him. And I'm like, we don't have to call him. I'm telling you to shave now. It's like, well, he said he would rather teach me himself. He didn't want you guys to make me shave. That just call him. They went on for like a good half hour. And they finally broke me, and I started fucking like crying. I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm listening to my dad. He told you to call. Well, and I had given up on telling him to call, right? I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it. No, I'm not gonna do it. Well, we're gonna call your dad. Go ahead. Thank you. They finally call, right? My dad. I hear my dad pick up. And yes, sir, we have your son here. We have a problem with his dress code. He's coming in with a mustache. He's got hair on his face already. He's got to shave. Okay, yes, sir, no problem. That was all it was. Exactly that long. Hang up. Well, sir, your father says he's going to take care of that with you tonight, and you come back tomorrow clean shaven. Like, all this, an hour of fucking grilling me and bugging me and just trying to fucking break you down. That's the problem we have with government.
Right?
That's the exact problem. It's just too much power in one location. So what if you guys, so let me get your opinion on this. I know Frank's, but what do you think about the government in general? You want to abolish it altogether and make it all...
Everyone always wants this utilitarian perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of not utilitarian, utopian perspective, which could be utilitarian. Like, oh, everything has to be all controlled or nothing has to be all controlled. And, in a perfect world, we would like to have like no oversight of anything, right? Which is what I would like. But the world's not perfect, so you got to be realistic. I'm
Of course.
more on like what you consider maybe like a mini anarchist, where there's like a very, very small amount, right? Mm-hmm. And all they do is like organize the rallying of like a defense. They make sure you're not killing people, or they'll take care of you if you are killing people, right? They'll provide like a small amount of law and order. Like, because I'm a big fan of sheriffs versus police because there's a difference, right?
More of a security force, right? Because the sheriff only steps in if it's necessary, and not necessarily for the small bullshit.
And the sheriff is elected and doesn't report to anyone, right?
That's important, yeah. The fact that they're elected.
And that's a very small role, right?
The problem is, how do you become elected? I mean, how do you get your name out there for people to even know or vote for you? You got to get the people with money to donate, and then you're beholden to the people with money. So whether or not we're privatized or, instilled by the government, we're still beholden to the same economic structure that comes from these power holds. So I understand wanting it to be a way, but like you said,
it's just not that way, right?
The society already developed in this fashion. It's like asking a virus to start behaving differently. Like, well, you'd have to inject a very remarkable genetic sequence to change its behavior. So what is?
Or you'd have to nuke the whole thing with chemo and kill everything and restart.
Yeah, and restart. So either we destroy ourselves like we did in Machu Picchu, fucking disappear like or we disappear like fucking Chernobyl.
Oh, okay.
We just make the wrong mistake and fucking destroy ourselves. I have no choice but to start over. Now it's a beautiful place, I hear, Chernobyl.
Yeah, right. Now there's no people there.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. We're a fucking virus, guys.
So, yeah, with that being said, one of my other talking points was that Seattle has moved to abolish the entire police force.
That is definitely pertaining to what we're talking about. Yeah. So how is that going to work?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, they abolished their entire city police force. They still have a county sheriff that's probably going to grow in size to make up the difference. And they have state troopers who have jurisdiction everywhere. So you're just changing who has that authority.
You're just shifting responsibilities.
Yeah. You're shifting responsibilities, so they're going to have to grow. That means their policies are probably going to become more lax. They're going to have to take over more simple crimes, like just domestic disputes and shit like that. They're going to have to answer to all of that, and it's going to become the exact same thing. It's just going to be a state-run police force rather than a city-run police force. And then, fine.
It's not going to accomplish what they think it's going to accomplish long run, right? Hopefully, maybe it does go the way of where it's how most, like I said, the difference between like a police officer and a sheriff's deputy is police officer reports to the captain, reports to the chief of police, right? Reports to the commissioner. Commissioner is appointed by your mayor or whoever. So that chain has no accountability versus deputy reports to the sheriff who is elected, who has, that's the accountability chain is a lot shorter. So hopefully they're more in touch with the people. Most places I've gone to, if I've talked to sheriffs, they're usually a lot more relaxed and they're usually more, down to earth and helpful.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully it does go that way where it is a more localized, in touch with the people way. But I just don't think so, especially with like the demographics of Seattle, Washington. It's just going to become the same thing.
We're all just people, man.
Yeah.
We're people. We're forever going to act like people. And everybody thinks if you change the structure, if you change the rules, we'll stop acting like the same people. Like, we're still the same fucking people, getting the same fucking jobs. The same type of people float towards the same type of jobs that they did in the past.
Yeah, so the way they want this to work is that they're going to implement social workers. That if there's a domestic dispute, domestic disturbance, they're gonna send in a social worker, one that's gender conformist or something, and fucking
you fucking bitch! I can't believe you! Knock, knock, knock. Yeah, who is it? Yes, sir. I'm here because I heard about a domestic dispute. What the fuck? Who is it? I don't know. Some fucking bitch with a clipboard telling me to behave with some shit. Get the fuck off my property. That's
So
when
why
you
don't
get the fucking gun pulled out.
why don't
Like,
you
what the fuck's
why
gonna
don't
happen?
you have both? Why don't you send an officer or two with a social worker?
Because it might turn violent.
No. But like you bring that person along in a lower violent issue.
Shit, I got fucking
Yeah,
mosquito
If that's what you
attacks.
wanted to do.
Yeah,
Right?
that's how it's supposed to be right now.
But it never
There's not enough social workers. You don't have enough to. I mean, there's some cities where there's 5, 6 calls domestic violence a night. There's not enough social worker to
well, it's gonna
police.
create an opening for
So,
those
so what,
that
you're gonna have a social worker per unit or what? Per police unit?
I
social
think
work.
that could make some more sense, right? Because all
Well,
these people with
now
the
I'm sorry. The problem with that is that there's no budget for it.
there
Like,
isn't. That's what that's what I'm about to get to, right?
wait, well, okay. I'll let you speak your piece before.
Because it's like some of these places like NYPD is an example, right? They had an annual budget of $6 billion. They cut $1 billion out of that, right? I ran math. It cost them, for averaging what their salaries are, from anywhere from, an entry cadet to like a detective, right? It costs them about $3.5 billion in staffing costs, right? So then you got another
Because
two and a half billion.
You got to pay the psychologists. You got to
Yeah,
pay the
sure.
weapons. You got to pay for the
Yeah.
instructors,
Exactly.
the
But
insurance.
you could rearrange not buying MRAPs and fitting every single police officer like they're a SWAT unit, and you can save some money.
Or a point that I've brought up several times in our own state here in Austin. They dropped a case. They got the judge to dismiss the case for some reason against these women who had been raped, and their their cases had been dropped. That they were marked as the women didn't follow up with the case, so it's void by not following up, I guess. But in reality, they were just putting off these women. The women would call and they would just say, "No, there's no information. No, there's no information. The officer's busy. The officer's busy." And then 2 years later, all of a sudden, it's dropped. Like, your case has been closed. What do you mean my case has been closed? I never got to talk to anybody about it. But because they put that the case was closed, it allows the record, to state that it was a solved case. It's a closed. How many cases did you close? Now, how many cases did you solve? Is what they're paying attention to. So they, instead of owning up to this and paying the women anything, and really the whole point, they didn't even want the money. What they wanted was the city to instill a special victims unit, allocate a lot more money to opening up an actual unit for rape victims in the city, because it's a serious problem in Austin. It's Weird Town, USA. People go out being crazy all the time, getting fucked up and crazy shit
I spent a
happens.
month there 2 years ago for training for Waymo back in the day. We talked about
Fun
that
place.
on last week.
Yeah, fun place, isn't it? but
Sixth
yeah,
Street was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
so they didn't want to do that. But then it came out that they just spent like $1.5 million to get a new horse stable put in for the Austin PD. And I'm not sure how necessary that was, but I assure you, I would say rape cases fucking trump your fucking horse full of stables. You can get people to donate to horses all the fucking time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You put up a fucking GoFundMe for the police horse stables, they'll make fucking $5 million in a weekend.
You don't even have to like get rid and slash all that funding out. You could reallocate a lot of it, right?
Yeah, and it's
like how much money are they spending on equipment and such that they're not needing, right?
Yeah. Well, do you think it would? I think we could solve a lot of our problems if we took all of the confiscated drugs and sold them like back to Mexico and Cuba. What do you think?
Yeah, I think
export their own shit right back to them.
Yeah, I think we should legalize drugs. That way, you take them off the hands of fucking criminals, especially the cartel.
How do you feel about drugs, Casey? You're young and in love.
Technically, drugs are illegal.
Depends on where you're at.
It depends on where you're at.
I'm not talking about your
I-
particular. How do you
I know.
feel about the
I'm
legality at the
I'm
moment?
on Frank's side where like, you could decriminalize a lot of drugs, right? If not all, at least most, right? And make them all recreational, right? And then you'd have a lot less scummy people involved with them. Because like everyone always cites like Portugal, right? Like how Portugal fixed their whole problem. They legalized most of everything
Yeah.
and allocated some of their drug busting, funding to helping people that have addictions or such. And
Yeah. Then
their
they
issues
opened
went way down.
Then you got better methadone clinics and clean needle facility sites and stuff.
Yeah.
Keeps all these people from
And
dying
I
in the
can
street
find-
and also from needing all that money to go to the hospitals.
I gotta find it. There was a dude that was on Joe Rogan that this was like a year or two ago. He studied the
Shut-
effects of He studied the effects of addiction, right? Because most of the studies on addiction were from like way back, like decades ago, right? With rats.
Yeah, that's right. They gave him like even with
Yeah.
sugar, they gave him like the equivalent of like pounds of sugar to a human to the
Yeah.
rat and said, "Oh yeah, sugar will kill him."
The problem he found with that study was the rat had no external stimulus. It was just in a cage, and it got water or it got water plus. You're gonna take the fun water, right?
Of course.
And then they had they did a very similar study, right, where they put
I had a
all
bunch
sorts
of water plus when I had Corona.
Yeah, right.
That was 2 weeks and nothing to do but drink.
They took rats and had all sorts of different groups, control groups that had like psychedelics, groups that had amphetamines, uppers, downers, all across the board, and they gave rats all the stimulus they needed, all the food that they would need, water, and then water that was laced with drugs, wheels to run in and mazes to run in, all sorts of stuff, and they were with all the other rats, and it was seen that the rats would only sometimes go to the drug, and they never got as addicted to it.
It was certain ones that would actually go back all the time. Some of them actually preferred stimulus to it,
but it wasn't in the amounts that the previous study was in.
Right. Yeah.
So it shows that it's a lot less.
It depends on your exposure and your surroundings. For instance, if you're in an inner city that doesn't have a park around, that doesn't have a pool to go to, that doesn't have a civic center or a boys and girls club or a YMCA, and all you have is your cousin on the corner slinging fucking hash and fucking crack out the back of his fucking mom's fucking old Chrysler. Why do I have such specific imagery for this shit?
Because you have a vivid imagination.
Too much MTV. I love your MTV shirt, by the way.
Oh,
hey,
thanks. This is like the third time I wore it.
So this is the part of the episode where we remember that Frank is here, and we check in with Frank. Frank, how you doing, buddy?
I'm okay.
I know we bring you in for these once in a while, but I always want to shine a light on you and give you a chance to get one of these rambles in. Yeah. So did you want to move on to another subject? You got anything to say about this? What you want to say?
I spoke my piece. Like, I oversimplified things, and yeah, we should decriminalize not necessarily all drugs, but most of them, to take them off of fucking hands of criminals. And so you can agree with me, we can tax those drugs like Colorado did, like fucking California.
But then we need a government.
Right. But we currently have a government, so that's why I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying.
Right?
Yeah.
Use what you got. Do the best.
Yeah, so I'm saying if we do it now with government, tax them.
So my last question on this subject is, what drug in particular, or drugs plural, if in particular, do you think should stay illegal? That should never make it onto a legal market.
I think fentanyl for one.
Fentanyl?
Yeah. We got a real problem in Arizona.
It still has medicinal purposes, right?
It does when it's done correctly and it's not, put together with house cleaner in some part of Mexico.
Right? That's Mom Milk of Michael they were talking about?
I'm not sure.
The Michael Jackson shit.
Was it fentanyl that he overdid on?
Yeah, I think so. Is that painkiller?
I was young when Michael Jackson died.
Oh, no shit. God damn it. Stop looking so old. You're dressed like a fucking 25-year-old. You're dressed like a 42-year-old fucking retired Navy pilot or something. So fucking confused. Every time I look up, if I don't look at you, it's fine. Sorry, that was. I don't mean to be offensive. Was that inappropriate?
Doesn't bother me. Might bother a
Okay.
4-year-old Navy pilot.
No, exactly. You look distinguished, young man. You look at like a distinguished young gentleman. Frank, pull me out of the weeds here. I'm biting on my own tongue.
Okay, so we're talking about drugs and we touched on conspiracy theories, so let's do this one. So I know you don't want to talk about it, but Stella Emanuel, the Nigerian doctor that they pulled out of Houston, or at least I think it was Houston.
Corona talk.
Yeah, they were. She was talking about how she was in DC talking about how no one in like America shouldn't have all these Rona deaths, right? Because there is a cure. It's hydrochloroquine with
Z-Pack, right?
with God damn it, what was it with fucking
Vitamin
zinc
Zinc.
and some other stupid thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it was
Right.
hydrochloroquine and some of the like azidol thing. I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
catch what it was.
And so
Sounds right.
I read that study this morning. Like I had it pulled up here too, where I read as much of it as I could because it's real technical. The French study that she references, that she uses, and
Oh, she's using a study from France, so we're gonna trust that
right.
as much as you trusted the Chinese fucking
Yeah, that's what
report?
she's. That's what.
Or the
she's
Italian
doing.
report. Wasn't Italy was like the worst
Italy
case,
was-
and now they're completely clean. Something doesn't sound fishy there.
Yeah, that's like China. China all stopped at whatever 80,000 deaths or something. Maybe
Yeah.
if they shot everyone that had it and threw them in a grave, maybe, but that's not what happened. They probably tried,
What do you think about all those cell phones disappearing?
right?
You don't think it was just a provider went out of business?
maybe.
That was my simple explanation. I was like, what's the simplest explanation? Oh, well, the providers went out of business, so all these people lost those lines and all had to get other ones.
Like Pocket.
Yeah. Like Boost Mobile fucking went under finally.
But yeah, you were saying,
Oh,
Casey?
sorry.
But
I cut you off again.
this study, when I was reading it, it seems more like the majority of people, it was like 95% had like positive results of it. It says HCQ is hydroxychloroquine, whatever, and AZ. I can't remember what the AZ stood for, but
Arizona.
right, Arizona, hydroxychloroquine from Arizona.
Go to Arizona, get some
But
Hydrox, and you'll
it
be all
deals a lot with, it helps a lot with the symptoms. And I was listening to her talk yesterday on like, she was on something like someone brought her on to something I was listening to, and she was like, "Oh, it cures the symptoms, and that means it's a cure." But like, it's really good at treating some symptoms in most people with very low risk of other issues.
right.
Right?
Yes.
So
So-
sure, it
but
treats
it's the
symptoms,
same-
but it's not a cure for the problem.
Right. I mean, Dayquil and NyQuil treated my symptoms. I felt great
And
when
that's
I
a lot
had
cheaper, right?
and it was so much. Yeah, and I used it as much as I needed to. I don't really like to take too many medicines because I've destroyed my body enough with other things in my life. So I've learned to stay away from most substances, but off and on. But shit, I got distracted with substances.
Yeah. But
Yeah. So Dayquil, NyQuil. I mean, 99% of people that get it are fine anyway.
Yeah.
So were they
This was
treating?
dealing with people that were in the hospital for more than 10 days, was what the study was
so they
about.
had lengthened symptoms.
Yeah, so they had lengthened symptoms, and it was like the majority of them, they thought were going to go to ICU, end up not going to ICU, right? Because it's the symptoms that progress that make things worse. Like you don't die from COVID, you die because you can't breathe because your lungs are full of shit, right?
Right. Well, I also heard that the inhalable steroids, like for asthma, were supposed to help with that instead of putting them on respirators. That they were
but
just
then the hospital doesn't get the money for putting someone on a respirator then.
right. But the drug companies do, so why not?
Well, who's paying you more at the time? The inhaler
the
company
fuck
or the
knows,
respirator
right?
people?
Exactly. Well, that's why some places are getting the hydroxychloroquine, other places are getting the fucking inhalable steroids, and other
Yeah.
places are getting this is nothing. You know what? Did you see a doctor? What did they tell you to say? Oh, you didn't have it after all. You
I
had
didn't have
another.
COVID. No, I just
Like
had.
for
I
instance,
just had.
when I got it, they said, "Okay, go home and quarantine for 2 weeks."
Yeah.
And they,
If you start dying, go to the hospital. But if you're not dying, don't go to the hospital, right?
yeah, and so
That's
but
how
they
it works when you're sick. If you're gonna die, you go to the hospital.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
nobody recommended anything to me. When the doctor called, you're positive, just stay home. Try not to wipe down all the surfaces you touch.
I mean, she's got some other weird issue stuff with some of her other things, right? That I don't even want to address or get into.
It seems very surface level information that she's giving that can easily be, construed one way or the other. That's everything now.
Decent enough study, I would say, but it's like, no, it doesn't cure. From what I could tell, it doesn't cure the virus. It just helps alleviate symptoms to the point that it doesn't progress to the point where you're gonna be on a ventilator and possibly die in an ICU, right? So it just mitigates some symptoms until your body can fight it off, right? Which is what you do. You did. You took a bunch of cough syrup and stuff until your body got over it, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a more expensive way of doing that.
Exactly. So anything else, Frank?
Yeah, well, they tried discrediting her by bringing up that, I mean, she's from Africa, so of course she's gonna believe these things. That she believes in demon sperm and possessions, and there's fucking videos of her in church preaching that something about McDonald's is evil because of the Happy Meal has toys or something, and something. Yeah,
that's like some more ad hominem stuff that I'm not usually on par with. Just because someone thinks one thing, if what they said is correct, then it's correct no matter what. But
is she talking science or is she talking opinion?
Yeah.
If she's not bringing an opinion, then I'm fine with whatever the fuck they're saying. But they got to be facts, man.
She's got a mix of a couple different things. She's like Alex Jones, right?
Yeah, thank you.
She's like, yeah, this is the thing, and then elaborates way too much more into putting herself down and out of the thing.
How is Alex Jones doing? Y'all been paying attention
I tried to listen to that guy back in the day. I lasted like 6 months and I couldn't do it. I liked a lot of his reporters until they all tried to beat Alex Jones to get more ratings. Then I can't do InfoWars, man. Too much.
Yeah, people try too hard to force themselves into things. Like I keep trying to force ourselves into stop talking politics and shit, but I just need to come to the realization that that's what people want to talk about
right now.
Yeah,
it's a very political time.
Yep. Is that so? Have you only recently gotten into politics, or did you go to school? What'd you go to school for that you didn't finish?
Engineering.
It
was expensive, and I couldn't get past some of the more higher end math. I do. The math was rough. Yeah, freaking like trigonometry 3 for engineering, thermodynamics and stuff, man.
No, thank you. I did culinary arts for a couple semesters. That was pretty fucking fun. I basically learned how to hold the knife and not cut my fingers, and how to wash dishes and follow a menu.
Yeah,
really, it's all cooking is,
and
that's
all you need. I'm doing some online stuff.
People that say like this and that is difficult is like, well, if you're rushed, yeah, a lot of it is difficult if you're rushing. But if you're doing it for fun and you could take your time with it and you don't overthink things and just do exactly what the directions and recipe says, it's 9 times out of 10 going to come out just fine.
Yeah.
Unless you have like an ingredient that turned or something on you, then you're fucked. But
I do some online stuff to learn some more IT and computer science things because that's more of like what I had been doing for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And dude, just like you said, it's hard to mess up. Like half my classes, the teacher's like, you need to pass the test, but in the field, you just Google it and just follow someone else's instructions. So all my tests were always like open internet.
There we go.
So I never really learned anything.
Yeah, we all have our internet degrees, man. We all have that information right here now. Again, a Tower of Babel. It's the pride of knowing that we can do all these things. But if we took our cars to somebody who did it their entire lives, but we just
better at it because they practice
right. But instead of doing that, we do it at home. We're like, oh yeah, we did it. The tire wobbles a little bit, but it still works. I did it, good enough. Of course, 4 years later, that fucking wheel pops off on the expressway, and you're in a fiery car crash.
Like I got.
That's what. Just to wrap up, what I'm saying is that that's what I'm afraid of right now with the internet and all this social media, is that we're all going to get this bravado that we all know better now than we ever have before, but we're all going to start fucking up our own lives slowly more and more because we're going to trust ourselves and our own research more than we trust other people's research who have been looking it up and dialing in the science a lot longer. That's why you have so many climate deniers and, people that don't believe in the scientists anymore and what actual studies show. They'd rather listen to their favorite YouTuber or Instagram star.
Sure.
But I cut you off though. What were you
I was just going along with it. Like, I've always been into cars and stuff ever since I was a kid. That's what made me come to Arizona, right? Because their stuff for cars and emissions are a lot lower than in California, so I could have hot rods and stuff out here a lot easier.
And they hold a lot better too, right? Because it's drier climate,
Yeah.
so you don't have as much rust problems as you do on like the classic cars down here.
The latest one I have this old 74 Pontiac, right? I built big V8, put it in, redid the transmission, put like shift kit and stuff in, did the front suspension stuff. Like that's easy, but like for my F250, a lot of stuff I take it into the shop to have someone who's professional with a shop grade equipment and knows what they're doing better than I do work on that, because that's my more reliable vehicle I need. So I'll trust someone else to do stuff, right?
Yeah, you can't afford for that to be a project car and for something to go wrong.
Yeah, like I can do something like change my brakes or my shocks, but like, I had to replace my whole I didn't have to, but I replaced all the suspension on that truck, right? Sway bars, tie rod ends, the links. I didn't replace the springs, but the whole control arms assembly, all that, right? I had shop do it all, so it was all right and perfect. So the truck's perfect in that aspect.
Yeah, the points where you really needed to function properly, you took it to a professional. Everything else where you could kind of take it or leave it. That's the way it should be, man. But hey, Cassey, we're running a little over here. We're already at 51 minutes. This was fucking a lot of fun, man. The time kind of got away from me there. Frank usually calls me out, but I don't know if you could see from there.
Yeah, I can.
My skinny head in the way.
Just can't tell if it's a 3 or a 5.
It's definitely been over half an hour, so it's a 5.
I know most of your stuff you try to keep it shorter.
Yeah, well, once in a while. Sometimes we're just too fucking lazy to keep it going, or the interview's a little slow, or our conversation is just I'm too fucking hungover or something. I get too drunk on the podcast sometimes. Who the fuck knows? But anyway, we're gonna wrap it up here. Cassey, it was great talking to you. Frank, you want to let them know where they can find us one more time?
They can find us on Instagram under CI Podcast, Twitter at Completely In App, on Facebook under Completely Inappropriate Podcast, and they can email us with questions, comments, and concerns at completelyinappropriatepodcast@gmail.com. Also, don't forget YouTube. Again,
BitChute.
Yeah, again, Completely Inappropriate Podcast. And forget TikTok, because that shit's banned.
It done gone away. All right, guys. Well, that was a lot of fun, Cassey. We got to remember to thank Vegan Patriot for introducing us to you and getting us to have you on and trust her judgment, because I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but we got 2 whole fucking episodes out of you. So happy to meet you, man.
You guys too.
You got a sign off you want to give to the people?
Same as last time, man. Just be good. You guys say be excellent. Same deal, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Frank, you say it in your luscious tones.
Be excellent to each other.
Find your motherfucking happy today, people, and be better today than you was yesterday. Love you guys. Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Frank.
What?
Frank.
Bye.
Bye. Ooh, I almost hit end call.